I just always wanted to play and sing. I started off learning piano and I didn't really get into that. It was always there. I used to write little songs when they were really silly things, you know, when I was into it.
Is it always been like a guitar that you've wanted to play?
Yeah, there was a friend of the family. My dad had several friends who played guitar. And anytime they used to come round to the house, I got this little classical guitar when I was about 11. And I'd just basically pounce on them. I'd just jump on them and go, show me something.
Yeah.
You know. And then I started having proper lessons when I was about 12. So
you incorporate many instruments like within your music and stuff, like from your album. And when I seen you with Random Review, you play a kazoo.
Yeah.
Which one is your favourite?
That's an interesting question because I play saxophone and I haven't played for a few years. Just recently started getting back into that. It's alto sax, but I'd say predominantly I think singing's my favourite thing. That's the thing that initially drove me I wanted to be a singer. The guitar came in as a way of accompanying myself, but actually I love playing guitar.
In your own words, you've busked in Barcelona, some in Buenos Aires, Cambodia and Thailand, played sax in belly dance and reggae bands. Like, how did all these experiences come about? It's quite random.
But, you know, I really want to just go off somewhere for a while.
Yeah.
So I had some connections in Barcelona at the time through my boyfriend at the time.
Yeah.
So I just went out there for about 4 months and I met this guy called Craig. I just used to go gigging. They had little nights on over there like they do here.
Yeah.
You find it anywhere. And I used to just go out gigging quite a lot. I met this guy, Craig, and I said, do you want to get together and play? And he was like, yeah, cool. And I took my sax with me. And we just used to go out on the streets and we'd play for like 3 or 4 hours a day. And that really got me a lot better on the sax. We just used to play like Beatles covers.
Yeah.
Mrs. Robinson, we used to play that Simon and Garfunkel. So yeah, we'd just go out and play. I remember one day going on the street and just singing a cappella, and I don't think I'd ever guts to do that now. And I just threw a hat down and started singing, and the local Barcelona TV filmed me, so I must have like popped up on the telly as this random nutter in the street. It was through this guy in Manchester I ended up also joining this belly dance band. It was through a guy who owned a bar, and he told me, oh, there's this band called the Nile Band and they need a sax player. But the last few years have been more about trying to bring the focus in and focus on what I really want to do.
Yeah. When you first got in touch with me about like the review I did about your album, you mentioned that you nearly give up music. Like, how did that come about, or what made you think that?
Oh, I'm a drama queen. I probably would have never really, but it was okay. I'm in Manchester, say 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm in Manchester, I'm working at the uni. I just got the job at the University of Manchester, being a PA. I'd temped on and off for years.
Yeah.
And I was engaged in a relationship I probably shouldn't have really been in. It wasn't good for either of us.
Yeah.
There was all sorts of problems there. And I was very, very depressed. I wasn't going out gigging so much. My confidence, whenever I used to have a gig, I used to shake. I'd be on stage shaking, like really nervous. And I don't know, it just all seemed, I'd made this album years ago called Tea in the Sky. It's on my Bandcamp page. It sounds kind of a bit naive now, but it was only because some people were saying, oh no, you should put it. I struggled through and did this EP. But a lot of the album that you reviewed, Dinzelkin, came out of that time. A lot of the songs came out of that. And
you not only perform as a solo artist, but part of a very talented trio, like Random Review. How did that come about?
Last July, Chris Martin, Man in a Hat Chris. I met Chris from gigging a while ago.
Yeah.
The first time I saw him, I fell in love with him and I adopted him as my uncle. He is now Uncle Chris. For July the 2nd, Chris had got this gig at the Dewsbury West Riding Rooms. It's the pub in the train station. They have live music on there. So he said to me, Scott, oh, do you want to do it with me? There's so much, you know, if you put in it, whatever. And I was like, yeah, okay, great. And what he said was, why don't we do it in the round? So we were all on stage together, rather than my set, his set, and then Scott's set.
Yeah.
Whatever. He said, we'll do it all together, because he'd seen some other people doing it like that. And it just gives the set a bit of variety.
Yeah.
You know, it just breaks it up so people aren't listening to the same thing for 30 minutes. I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. So I took some shakeable eggs. Scott always has a load of harmonicas with him. So we just pretty much got up and I was just improvising some backing vocals on, because Chris just plays a lot of blues, so it's really easy to sing along with stuff like that. And from there, we actually started to rehearse and work stuff out a bit more, and it's just grown. And now we,
Given the current economic crisis, how do you stand on illegal downloading?
without sounding like a goody two shoes, I actually don't really download. It's not because of necessarily I will not illegally download. Because the thing is, I'm really skint. At the minute, I really get by, and I can understand, people. For me, ideally, being an artist who's completely independent, I hope that people can see that it's important to support independent music. If you really like what someone does and they're clearly not someone who's that well known, support them. I can understand why people do, because it's human nature, and I have done myself in the past.
Do you think YouTube to MP3 players, converters, are just as bad as illegally downloading?
I'm aware of that recently. I'm a bit technologically backward. I suppose it is quite bad, really. Yeah, because it means it is a way of people being able to get your music, but it's not something I've given a lot of thought to, really.
Yeah.
I would stress to people that, to think about what they're doing and remember that if they like what they're hearing, they should be supporting that art.